Wait, before you skip to your favorite operator in this video, I have very, very important information to tell you about the barrels of the weapons. This applies to every single operator in the game. First up, we have the flash hider. You need to know what these barrels do so that you can adjust them based on what you need to do. So the flash hider, this is what the recoil pattern looks like. Basically what the flash hider does, it keeps that initial burst closer together. Then we have the compensator, which limits your side-to-side recoil in a spray. I'll give you a look here. That initial jump is way bigger than the flash hider. Typically, the longer you go, the less side-to-side recoil you have. Then we have the muzzle brake, which limits your first initial bullet. So the gap from this bullet to this bullet, in theory, should be smaller. And you can see it right there. That first bullet jump is much smaller because of the muzzle brake. Next up, we have the suppressor, which literally does nothing except for suppress your bullets. Now, it doesn't take your damage down, but it stops that bullet flyby of when you're actually using it. And it's going to be the same with the extended barrel. It's still not going to affect your recoil. These are the two options that you can pick between if you don't need the help with the additional recoil. I typically never use the suppressor or the extended barrel because that extra bit of recoil control tends to be pretty good. The side-to-side recoil is still the same. It should be similar to what you see with the suppressor. There you have it. You can see the big jumps in the actual first two bullets compared to the muzzle brake here and then the flash hider. So flash hider and muzzle brake is going to be your go-to if there's a lot of initial kick, and then you have the compensator for if there's a lot of side-to-side on the weapon. With that being said, we are going to start with the attackers, move to the defenders. All of them will be time-stamped below, so feel free to skip to whatever you want, and I'm going to show you each loadout and every loadout and explain why I use what I use. Let's start with Striker. So Striker has the M4 and the LMG. I pretty much every single time use the M4. This gun is a machine. I put the flash hider on it. If you are wanting to use the LMG, I do have the compensator on there. It's a gun that I don't use very often. I use the M4 with the shotgun. I put a sight on, you can use whatever sight you want. You could even use iron sights on the shotgun, but I just like that little reflex just for this shotgun specifically. I pretty much always am running flash blangs and grenades. So grenades and flashbangs are my go-to here. I do switch it up a little bit with Striker. This is an operator who is very versatile, so you could bring the hard breach tools and the EMPs, or you can bring the hard breach tools and the flashes, or the hard breach tools and the grenades. There's lots of options here. Basically, this is something that you would switch up right before the round when you see what you're actually up against. Moving on to Sledge, we have the L8 with the muzzle brake. So this is our first muzzle brake appearance. Typically I do use the flash hider on most of the operators, but for Sledge I use the muzzle brake. Helps with that first bullet recoil like I was mentioning before. Always running the grenades. You could bring the flashes. Flashes are almost as strong as grenades, but grenades give you that, not only that clear ability of a spot, so the same way you could flashbang a spot, you could grenade that spot to push someone out of cover, but it also breaks the utility, so you have that soft destruction at the same time. Then we have Thatcher, which I'm also running the L8 on. I think the L8 is just a much better weapon than the AR-33. If you do want to run the AR-33, probably don't run whatever I have on this because I have probably never used it. I think I have the default on there. I have flash hider on the L8, so apparently I use both. So muzzle brake or flash hider, either or. I think muzzle is the better one. I think I just switched off of it by accident one time. I'm running claymores most of the time on Thatcher. You're typically posted up like on a breach where there's runouts and stuff, so claymores are usually the go-to. You can bring the breach charges if they're suitable, or if you want to bring the shotgun in a breach charge, do a little shotgun hot breach. Hey, could be fun. Next up, we have Ash. Ash is a very popular operator. A lot of people are probably wondering, what are we running on the R4C? I do run the flash hider on Ash. I think it's the superior barrel, ACOG vertical grip laser. I do run laser on every single gun because it increases that ADS speed. You could run a one-time sight on the R4C as well, get a little bit more ADS speed, or if you just find you're playing more aggressive in the tighter ranges, then the one-time sight is absolutely viable. I would probably just throw on the Hollow A or the Hollow B. Those are my typical go-tos, but I do switch them up once in a while. I run the ACOG though, and then I have the M45, which is a 10 times better pistol than the 5.7. Should have the laser sight on every gun. Most of the time they already know where you are anyway. The laser sight is not giving away your position. However, if you are in a hiding spot, you can just simply aim to a little bit left or right of the doorway so that they don't actually see your laser. So just be aware that you do have the lasers, but it's definitely worth it because you get just an increased advantage in the gunfights. Claymores and breaches, again, I just switch between the two. It just depends on the map, the site, whatever. So pay attention in the prep phase to know what you want to bring. Then we have Thermite. Thermite, I'm running the 5.56 with flash hider, ACOG, Magnify B every single time. This is preference again. You can run A, you can run C, you can run B. It's completely up to you, but I do run the ACOG because you're typically outside the breaches, holding long angles, and the ACOG is going to help with that. Vertical grip laser sight just to help with the recoil and the ADS speed. And again, the M45. I have the suppressor on this one. You can run suppressor or muzzle. It's not going to change that much. However, the flashes and the smokes is going to change a lot. Depending on the site, you might want to switch to the smokes, but like 90% of the time I'm running the flashes if I'm playing Thermite. Playmaking ability from the flashes is huge. Smokes as well, but you get more opportunities with the flashes, I find. Twitch is next. We got the 417 or the F2. I actually do not run the F2 on PC. It's very difficult to control the recoil because they lost the vertical grip, which is an insane change, by the way. If I am running the F2, screw it. We run the ACOG. Let's go. I mean, I might put the one-time sight on as well sometimes, but I prefer the 417 by a landslide. I use the muzzle brake, and then I don't use the vertical grip on this one. I use the angle grip because there's very minimal recoil. It just gives you that extra reload speed. So if you are needing to reload in an uncomfortable spot as an attacker, you can do it a little bit quicker with the angle grip, and then the laser sight again for the ADS speed increase. You could run the revolver if you're running the F2 just to make some like holes in walls and stuff. I just prefer the P9, just a much better gun, much more consistent than a revolver. And make sure you have smoke grenades on. Please do not run claymores on Twitch. This is just a troll. Unless you like have an idea of where you want to go and there is jump outs and you know for sure you're going to need them, run the smokes, because the smokes give you playmaking ability to actually get stuff done. If you want to jack up your Twitch even more, you can put on the elite skin, which is much harder to see. That is kind of like OP. However, it's banned in any comp, so I just leave it off. I leave it to the default. So there's another little trick. Monty is next. Very straightforward. I run the P9. I don't run the Magnum. It's kind of silly. Muzzle brake, laser, smokes. Simple. Sometimes I will switch the hard breach depending on the map, depending on the site. Most of the time I'm using the smokes to cut off angles and actually push up with the shield a lot safer. Glaz is up next. Very underused op. I haven't actually played Glaz in a while. 100% running that bearing 9 with a flash hider, laser, hollow B. Again, preference on what site you want to run. You could even run iron sights, but I think it's kind of dog on this weapon. Dog shit, that is. And on the sniper, I run muzzle brake, vertical grip, laser sight, and red dot C. Red dot C is actually a big one here because it allows you, when you're aimed down that Glaz scope, to have just a single dot where you're aiming, which is actually very, very useful. So I would actually recommend red dot C over the other one times in this circumstance. Now, typically you would want to run nades because they blow stuff up and they're better than smokes. However, Glaz's entire ability relies on smoke grenades and the thermal optics of the sniper. If you want to run the grenades, just don't play Glaz because you don't need the sniper in that case, because there's no smokes to work with. Unless your whole team is bringing smokes, you want to be self-sufficient and rely on yourself to be able to smoke off those angles and make the play when you need to, because it's just going to happen faster and be more valuable to you and your team. You could also run the Gon 6 if you really want, if you're really confident in the sniper, but that bearing 9 is so lethal at close range. I mean, even the PMM is a good choice. I don't play a lot of Fuze. I would have recommended the Fuze Shield in Year 9 Season 3, but in Year 9 Season 4, I'm going AK-12 all the way. Shields got nerfed. Flash hider, laser, vertical grip, magnifying B. This is the best gun in the game in my opinion, so that's what I'm running on Fuze. I mean, you could run the LMG. Honestly, not a bad choice either. It's really preference at that point. 100% PMM over GSH though. If you're running the GSH, you're actually trolling. This gun is so bad, and this gun is literally the best pistol in the game, so don't troll yourself. Smokes, breach charges, hard breach charges. I actually switch between all three of these. If I'm taking vertical, maybe I want to open up the hatch. Maybe I want to open up the floor as well as Fuze the floor to just cover more ground. And then the smokes, you can, you know, use those when you're actually pushing for some playmaking ability as well. Typically, I'm on the smokes, and then I bring the breaches or hard breaches if I know that I'm going to actually be taking vert that round. Next up, we have Blitz. Blitz, very straightforward. You're running a shield, you're running a pistol, muzzle brake, laser, smoke grenades. Don't ever really run the breaches on Blitz. There's no need. Just bring the smokes. Again, they protect you from different angles as you're pushing, and they're very, very useful. You can even emerge through the smokes to clap some cheeks if you need to. IQ, I am running the Commando. I think the Commando is another very, very strong gun. I run flash, vertical, laser. This is pretty much the go-to for most guns on the attack. When in doubt, this is like the best loadout, essentially, is laser, flash, vertical, magnified B. You could run the G8. The G8's also good. Again, same loadout here. I wouldn't really recommend the AUG. It's got a little bit more recoil, does less damage, doesn't shoot fast. Like, the Commando is just better in pretty much every aspect. But if you do want that LMG, go ahead, run the G8. It's probably the best LMG in the game. I run nades as well here. Just nades are way better than breaches and claymores. Let's keep to that. Next up is Buck. We got the C8 with the flash hider, magnifying B, laser. I mean, this is just the superior gun in every way. If you run the DMR, explain why in the comments. You do have to explain yourself, because this gun has such a high rate of fire and is so good that you probably shouldn't be using this DMR, which honestly, the cameras is just bad in general. It's one of the worst DMRs, but hey, there it is. I'm always running flashes over hard breach tools playmaking ability with the flashes in combination with the skeleton is so lethal. I might switch to the Heartbeat charge 1 in 100 rounds. So 99% of the time, I'm using the flashbangs. New Blackbeard is next. What are we running on Blackbeard? If you're running the SR25, no big deal. It's actually, this one's okay. This actually might be, never mind. I lied. This might be worse than Buck's DMR. This is actually worse than the Cammers. The MK17 is what I use. I run Iron Sights, Flash Hider, Vertical Laser, and I'm running Iron Sights for a reason because Blackbeard relies heavily on that ADS speed for his shield. So having the Iron Sights, you can aim down your sights faster and react faster in gunfights. Plus with the laser sight, you got that extra boost, and you can win fights a lot easier if you have those Iron Sights on. Then please run the grenades. You can throw grenades safely from behind your shield, push people out of cover, and then ADS them and clap their cheeks. It's a lethal combo, and this is probably the best Blackbeard loadout that there is. Capitao is next. I don't play a lot of Capitao. When I do, I kind of switch up between the LMG and the Para. I think they're both really good guns, but I like the LMG. It has that extra rate of fire on it. Flash Hider, Magnify B, Vertical Grip, Laser Sight once again. I believe it is the same way for the Para. Oh, I actually run Extended Barrel on the Para, and that is because the recoil is very minimal, so I can get that little bit of extra damage thanks to that extended barrel. So I actually don't find that I need the extra recoil boost on here. Plus, most of the time I'm shooting people in the body with the Para, not in the head, because of that slower rate of fire. I run the Gon 6 on this because both these guns are, you know, okay on their own. We don't need that pistol, plus this pistol's kind of dog. And then I'm running the Heartbeat charges 99% of the time on Capitao as well. So much utility here. You got the Gon 6, four Capitao bolts, and 2 Heartbeat tools. If you want to pack some punch and have utility, Capitao is not a bad option. He just suffers a little bit to aggression. Hibana is next up. I'm running the Type 89, baby. This is the first compensator appearance. This gun does have a little bit of that side-to-side recoil, so I'm running the compensator over the Flash Hider. You can still run the Flash Hider. It's not a bad option. I just think compensator is superior on this gun. Bearing 9, I'm actually going to put the Flash Hider on. I think the Flash Hider is the ultimate play on the Bearing 9. You could run the Supernova. I mean, honestly, the Supernova is good. If you are, I don't recommend running the Suppressor, because if you run the Suppressor, your barrel will stick out around corners. It will telegraph when you're about to swing, and people will see you before you can see them because of the long-ass Suppressor on it. So just, I wouldn't recommend putting it on, whether that's Hibana, whether that's Echo, whether that's Amaru, whoever you're using for that. Always flashes on Hibana. Please don't run breaches. Flashes are so strong. Try not to give them up for breach charges. Jackal is next up. Either gun is good here, PDW or C70. If you're running the shotgun, I would guess that you're trolling. The C70 is a very lethal gun. Flash Hider on that one, Vertical Grip, ACOG, Laser Sight. And then if you're running the PDW, this is not the PDW setup I would recommend. I clearly don't use the PDW on Jackal, but if you are going to use the PDW, I use it on Osa. So this is what I would actually run on it, is again the Flash Hider, Laser, Vertical Grip, Magnify B. From there, I'm running the secondary shotgun, the ITA. You can run whatever one-time sight on here. I clearly have them all different on all the operators, but definitely run the smoke grenades over the claymores. Playmaking ability is huge, and smoke grenades give you that, whereas claymores are more relying on them to be aggressive onto you. Ying is next up. I'm always running the LMG. I run the horizontal grip on this, get that extra movement speed, because the recoil isn't too bad, in my opinion, on PC. Flash Hider, Magnify B, Laser, so that extra speed to capitalize off the Candelas as I'm running at them and chasing them down. So that's why I run the horizontal grip on her. And then 99% of the time I'm using the smokes, cut off lines of sight as I'm yinging. So much throwable utility, very strong operator, especially with this loadout. Zofia is next up. She actually recently got Heart Breach tools, which 100% I would recommend over Claymores. Gives her just so much more utility in her loadout. For her gun, I'm using the M762 with the muzzle brake on it to reduce that initial shot recoil, so that way the whole thing isn't bouncing up, because it is a very bouncy gun, so I find the muzzle brake helps out the most. On the pistol, I'd put the laser sight on as well on this. Laser sight, muzzle brake, and that's it for Zofia. Dokkaebi is next up. You could run the Boshi. You could be the guy that runs the Boshi on attack. I personally think the Boshi is better on defense because you're holding those angles a lot more, whereas on the attack, you have to push up. You have to always be picking up new angles to continue gathering control. On the DMR, I am running the horizontal grip, muzzle brake, magnify B, laser sight. Again, more speed. You could put angle grip, you could put vertical grip. I find that the recoil is so minimal that when I do put vertical grip on, I'm actually over pulling down. So I run the horizontal grip for that extra movement speed, plus she's a 3-speed, so she gets that extra burst of speed, which is nice. And then on the SMG, I'm running the Holo B, vertical grip, laser sight. Again, using the DMR over the Boshi because it is better for when you're playing aggressive and taking up new positions constantly. And then I have the stun grenades over the smokes, stuns and smokes, switch between the two. EMP gadgets I use very rarely when my team does need them. I would only ever use EMP gadgets in a 5-stack because I'm not going to trust my hard breachers to actually pull off getting a wall because usually they're bad. So that way I keep the flashes for the playmaking abilities, and if needed, I can clear underneath and get the wall denial off from below. Lion is next up. Wow, I love Lion's guns. I find he's one of the most fun operators to play. I run the flash hider on the 308. I sometimes do switch to the DMR, again with that angle grip for that extra reload speed similar to Twitch. I'm running the P9 every single time pretty much, and then again just muzzle brake, laser sight. Grenades are fantastic on Lion. You can drone someone out, call Lion scan, nade them. They have to run. They're getting pinged. Nades are just the superior secondary utility in my opinion, so I'm basically always running them. Finka's next up, very strong operator, LMG all day. Muzzle brake LMG. So clean. I am running the vertical grip on this one. You could run the spear, but it's honestly just one of the worst ARs right now. So bouncy, so horrible. If you are using it, I recommend the compensator, or if you want to just sound so nice, put the suppressor on this one. Sausage did get a buff. I haven't actually tried it out. Might be a good play. Probably not. You have the best pistol in the game as well. Make sure to throw the laser sight on. I don't typically look at my pistol loadout too much just because it's like it's a pistol. I'm more focused on this primary gun, and then I run the grenades as well. Maverick's next up. You could run the AR-15, especially with the glazed waffle skin, so you can glaze your enemies as you defeat them, so you can defeat them with glaze, but I'm running the M4. This is again one of the best ARs in the game. I feel like I've said that a lot, but the M4 Commando AK-12, so strong. M4 especially, AK especially, Commando especially, also good. Oh my god, I'm getting too excited. Flash hider, vert grip, magnify B, same combo that you've seen countless times throughout this video. And then I run the suppressor on the pistol apparently. Again, glaze waffle skin if you want. You can glaze the enemies. W. You don't have to run suppressor. The pistol again does not matter that much. Always run the flashes on Mav though. Actually, you don't always have to run the flashes because you can run the claymores. If you want to Mav the bottom of the wall with a pre-placed claymore, good way to kill bandit trickers. We have Nomad next. I am running the ARX on Nomad with the muzzle brake. The AK is not bad. You can run it. I just find the ARX hits so hard to the body that you can just body shot everyone very quickly and kill them very fast. I like the other handgun just because I am really bad with this, but if you're good with this pistol, like 100% run it, you know, run whatever you're good with. Flashes over breaches 99% of the time, unless you're doing like a vert clear by yourself, a solo clear where you have to set up the flanks with the air jabs and then work vertical with the breaches. Not a bad strategy. Other than that though, stick to the flashbangs. Gridlock is next. I don't play her very much. Again, the M249 LMG is pretty good, so you could run that, or you could run the F90. I like the F90. I think it's just a really fun gun. I run it with flash hider again as well, and then the shotgun, the super shorty. I run iron sights on this one because I think the iron sights aren't too bad. Plus, it's a gun that you can actually get kills with. It's actually really good in the close range. So running the iron sights just gives you that ADS boost when you're actually getting into that fight. You could run smoke grenades here too. I run grenades most of the time on Gridlock, but if you're doing that direct sight hit right away or a sight rush, the smokes are great for covering up the Gridlocks that are in the smokes. So that way they're running through the smokes, but they're hitting tracks at the same time. They don't see what's going on. It's actually a pretty lethal combo. Other than that, I bring the grenades. You just don't want to grenade your own Gridlocks, which is kind of the downfall of grenades with her. Nokk is next up. Still horrible, but I run the FMG9, flash hider, Deagle, great gun, muzzle brake. You could put laser sight on this. I'm going to put laser sight on pretty much everything, and then I run grenades 100% of the time on Nokk if I'm ever gonna play her. Amaru is next up. You fly through the windows, you do it all. Supernova. If I'm running the G8, flash hider, vert grip, magnify and B. SMG, oh my gosh, what do I have on this? I was running a forbidden loadout apparently. I do run the muzzle brake on the SMG, but I would not use whatever sight I had on there. Hollow B, hollow A, you know. You can run that sight if you like it. It's really, that is all up to you. Sometimes I bring the Gon 6 if I want to rush and like drop a hatch, then I can quickly open the hatch, or I can do the shotgun as well. And then you can bring the hard breach tools for like that dining, that classic dining cafe rush, or more commonly, I like to bring the flashes for the playmaking abilities. Callie's up next. Not a great op, but when you run the secondary gun, she's not bad. Flash hider, reflex B, laser sight on the sniper. It doesn't actually have any attachments, but we do have the Pox Unlock charm, which you can get by subscribing on Twitch. Wow, this charm actually makes you you 10 times better at the game. So if you get this, you will actually be the best player if you put it on all of your guns. Whatever gun you're using, if you have the Pox on Lockstream, you're guaranteed to kill. Go subscribe on Twitch to get it now. Smoke grenades was actually a nice introduction to Callie. I actually like the fact she has the smokes. Gives her that playmaking potential to push in, smoke some stuff off, pull out the secondary, and get aggressive. Plus, with her ability to be able to destroy a bunch of stuff beforehand, she's actually not too bad anymore. Iana! Woo! I don't actually play Iana pretty much at all anymore. I am going to throw the muzzle brake on the ARX here as well. I think it's the better option. G36, another great underrated gun, I would say. Flash hider on that one. G36 is great for Iana and for Ashe even, if you're not a fan of the R4C. I run Gon 6 on Iana and then smoke grenades too. Ace is next up. Ace is so good. One of the best attackers in the game. Top 3 for sure. Flash hider on the AK-12, best gun in the game. You could run the shotgun. The shotgun's actually not too bad in Year 9 Season 4 after the buff, so it would be good for 2025 as well. You have the Hollow B and laser on there, but I mean, it's hard to give up the AK-12 for the shotgun. I run Claymores about 90% of the time on Ace, but you can't switch to the breach charges if you see in the prep phase what you're doing and where you want to go, and the breach charges might be useful. Think it out, plan it out, plan out your prep phase, and you'll have a lot more success in your games. With Zero, we have the MP7 with the Magnify B flash hider laser sight. I don't actually like the SC3000 on PC. It's pretty bouncy of a gun, so I actually just prefer to run the MP7. It's not horrible though. You can try flash hider. I know on console extended barrel does a ton of damage and it's kind of a laser, and this is like actually a lethal combo for Zero or even suppressor. I just stick to the flash hider. I stray away from this gun these days and I use the MP7. With the pistol, I find that with both these guns you run out of ammo, and switching to the Gon 6 I've seen so many times where people run out of ammo and lose the gunfight because they have to switch. So I actually run the pistol. I think the Gon 6 is honestly kind of mid in the current meta, so I don't really use it on anyone these days. And then I use the hard breach tools, of course, on Zero as well. Flores is next up. AR-33 over this garbage SR-25 all day of the week. I use the muzzle brake on this one. You could put flash hider. I think I have flash hider on Thatcher, but I don't use it on Thatcher, so I would trust this loadout with the AR-33 over the Thatcher one. Unfortunately, he only has the GS H18 and not the PMM. If you had the PMM, W, but he doesn't. I see a lot of people use Claymores on Flores, which I think is a bit of a blunder. I think flashbangs are a lot more useful for his kit because you can use those Flores drones to break the ADSs, break the Womitis, and then use the throwables afterwards because you've already cleared a path for yourself with the Rotero drones. All you have to do is sit in a safe spot with the Rotero drones, sit on a roof, sit around a corner, so if they do jump out, they can't see you because you have quite a distance on them anyway. So you don't actually need the Claymores. Stick to the flashbangs, just drone from safer positions, and you'll be A-okay. Osa is next up. You can use either the PDW or the 5.56. Again, flash hider on the 5.56, flash hider on the PDW as well. So again, this default standard loadout that I go with. Pistol, she has the PMM. Speaking of PMM, she's got it, and that's a great #1 pistol in the game. I run nades all day of the week with those, so you can do the EMPs, but the nades are just so good. I just find it so hard to give up grenades for something like EMPs when you could just have somebody else bring the EMPs or play the Maverick. So if you want to play the Osa, maybe like you have someone else play the Maverick to get the wall denial off, so you can bring the grenades and you can just stack that utility together and be much more effective as a team because you have more utility overall, or more useful utility overall. But that doesn't mean you can't use the EMPs. Like you can pull them out if you need them. Sens is next up. I think Sens is actually a pretty solid operator now. Again, angle grip on the 417, muzzle brake on the pistol. I'm running the muzzle brake laser. I love the 417, especially on PC when you have that high rate of fire. The 417 is just beautiful. It's a beautiful gun. I don't really like the POF9. I don't know. It just feels weird to me. I use flash hider on it. You could probably even throw the extended barrel on because it does feel like I'm almost have negative recoil where I'm pulling down and shooting people like in the pee hole because like I start at their head and start pulling down too much. I run the nades pretty much all the time on Sens, but the hard breach tools are a good option as well. Sight dependent, of course. Grim is next up, one of the best operators in the game. What do you run on him? You run the 5.52 Commando with the flash hider, baby. Flash hider, ACOG, vertical grip, laser sight. You can actually run the shotgun, which is not bad, especially with the horizontal grip because he's a 3-speed. He gets that extra speed, so you could be flying around with this shotgun, and then the iron sight laser for the increased ADS time, and you could be so aggressive and crazy. Shotgun through the floor, B up through the floor, shotgun them more. It's not the best strategy. I think the Commando is just a much safer bet. and then use the bailiff to make the vert holes if you need to be from below. I have the claymores on right now. I switch a lot between the claymores and hard breach charges. Again, I don't use the impact EMPs a lot, and I think the reason is you can just get wall denial in other forms. The EMPs can be good for like late round for traps, Malusis, stuff like that, but I find I only switch them when I know that's what I'm actually coming into. Brava is next. I stray away from the cameras and run the para. I do have the extended barrel on the para on here as well. Again, not a lot of recoil on this one. I talked about this a little bit with Capitao. And then we have the super shorty with the iron sights, laser sight again. So you can quickly, you know, shotgun ADS around corners. Very good for killing people, this shotgun. So I actually use this to kill people at close range. And then the smokes over the claymores every single day of the week. Then we have Ram, who of course you are running the R4C on. I run the Wildcard 2024 skin. Look how nice this skin is. Oh my gosh, my friend Kubi made it. He's a damn good artist in the Rainbow Six scene. If you see any really good esports skins, he probably made them. I run the Flash Hider again on the R4C, and then the ITA shotgun, just so you can work vertical open hatches. So much potential that you get from being able to soft breach. And then I run the smokes, or sorry, the flashes over the smokes pretty much every single time. Super good operator, and just an amazing loadout to go with it. Next up, we have Deimos, one of the best operators in the game, especially on PC. Absolutely love this operator. I never use the shotgun, and that is for a reason. I see a lot of people use the shotgun on Deimos. I highly recommend just using the AK, Flash Hider, vertical grip, laser sight. This gun's actually really good with the vertical grip. Nomad doesn't have it with the vertical grip, I believe, which is why I do like it a lot better on Deimos. However, I don't use the shotgun because the Vendetta is so lethal in close range. I actually find that I win more gunfights against shotguns in the close range with the Vendetta because it shoots so fast, and it's just so good for being aggressive. So in the close range, I'm never using the shotgun anyway. I'm using the secondary Vendetta pistol. Nades pretty much 90% of the time, maybe 10% of the time I'll switch to the hard breach, go below, track a bandit, kill the bandit from below, get rid of the wall now, go up, hard breach the wall. But most of the time you already have that hard breacher if you're on the Deimos, so you can actually just bring the nades, which are great for if you track someone, you see they're behind cover, you nade them out of cover, they run, you have the walls on them, and you pre-fire them. Such a lethal operator with an amazing loadout to go with it. That is it for the attackers. We are moving on to the defenders, starting with Sentry. I don't think Sentry's that good of an operator when I am running him. I'm running the Commando Flash Hider on that with the Hollow B, and then the Iron Sight, Laser Sight combo on the shotgun. For secondary gadgets, I do think that the C4 is the best secondary gadget in the game by far. So I'm just going to say it now. Every single operator, I'm running the C4 on if I have the option to. And then with Sentry, sorry, I use the barbed wire as well. So I run the barbed wire C4 combo because what you can do is you can C4 below the barbed wire. You can do this with the proxies as well, but the barbed wire actually grabs them and makes sure they're actually staying there. So if they're punching the barbed wire, you know they're in the vicinity of the barbed wire and they haven't like sprinted past it like they could with the proximity alarm. So I do some barbed wire C4 traps with Sentry. Outside of that, I don't really play them, but just not that strong of an op on the defense in my opinion. Smoke is next. I am never using the FMG9 because that is a troll. This is literally the best shotgun in the game, and it's even better in Year 9 Season 4. So if you're not using this shotgun, you are trolling. Iron Sight, Laser Sight combo, and then the SMG11. So good with the muzzle brake on there. I like the Reflex B. I run the muzzle brake because most of the time you're only shooting a few bullets. You're aiming for the head, you're peeking out and trying to shoot them in the head. You're not trying to take like a full spray gunfight every single time with this gun, and when you are, you're in close enough range that the barrel doesn't really matter. So I run muzzle brake on the SMG11 for those reasons. Barbed wire over proxies every day of the week. I think the barbed wire is just better. It still provides you with information similar to the proxies, except it slows them down. Like I mentioned with Sentry, it slows them down and it keeps them from being able to just go anywhere at any point. With Mute, again, running the shotgun, Iron Sight, Laser Sight, Furia weapon skin, beautiful, beautiful skin on there. And then the SMG11, exact same loadout here with Mute, and then C4 over the BP every single time. If you do want to run the MP5K, which I really don't recommend, Flash Hider, Hollow B, Laser Sight, I just prefer the SMG11. I think the SMG11 compared to the MP5 is just a better gun overall, right from the bat. So why not have that shotgun for so many good plays, especially like sitting around a corner on a Mute jammer with the shotgun. It's just what can they do when you're sitting there ready to pump. You know what I mean? Castle's next up. Honestly, the castle shotgun is pretty good these days. You could run shotgun pistol, especially if you have a strat for it. I tend to stick to the ump still though, with a flash hider, vertical grip ACOG, and then laser sight, iron sight on the shorty. And then I run beepers. Running beepers here is actually a key thing for castle, because when you're doing these castle setups, there's a lot of different ways they could still come from. So you still need the information of where they're going to come from, even with your castles. So the beepers just help you fill those gaps and have a more rounded setup when you're actually doing it. If you have the team, you can run the BP if you know that they're actually going to get on that camera and actually use it. You do need at least one shotgun with castle though, so that way you can make the rotate, so you can make the lines of sight, and you can make those castle setups a lot more effective. We got Pulse next. Pulse shotgun is actually, I think, the better loadout now. I think just because this shotgun is so good now, it's actually the superior loadout to run over the ump. Playing vertically with the shotgun and shotgunning from above or below in combination with being able to do the C4 as well is just kind of crazy. The shotgun's actually really good. That first initial kick is much lower now. And then I run the M45 pistol, should throw on the laser sight on that. And then the C4, of course. If you're not running the C4 on Pulse, something is wrong. That is insane. It goes so well with this cardiac sensor, C4ing from below, playing underneath, scanning, C4, dead. Very self-sufficient way to get free kills. Doc is next up. You could run the MP5 with the ACOG, the flash hider, the classic setup, or you could run the P90 suppressed ACOG, which actually is really good. I actually really like the P90 suppressed. It's actually kind of nasty. Typically, I'm running the MP5, but P90 suppressed. It's a great gun, and it's a lot of fun. It's a headshot machine, too. You could run the revolver. I run the bailiff just so you can have, make rotate holes, work vertically. You can stim your teammates from below or above them just by making a hole in the floor and then docking them through the hole. And then barbed wire pretty much every single time. Again, it's just trap information. It is passive information that you can just set up and forget about and not have to worry about. With the BP, you have to actively be watching it to actually gather the info, but with barbed wire, it's just sitting there and it's guaranteed info if somebody tries to walk through it. Next up is Rook. Same exact setup here with the MP5, flash hider. Same exact setup with the P90 suppressed. Run either or. You could run the shotgun if you're feeling crazy. The shotgun's actually really good too. I run the revolver on Rook, and there is one reason for that. It's to make holes. You can make holes in the wall with a revolver compared to the P9. So you can make new lines of sight that you can use through the floor, through the wall. So that's actually a useful tool that I would recommend using. And then the impacts pretty much every single time for playmaking ability, shield counter, lots of benefits to the impacts. I think they're the best gadget outside of the C4s. Kapkan is next up. Fantastic operator, 9x19, one of the guns that I do use the compensator on to completely eliminate horizontal recoil. The recoil pattern of this, it feels very consistent, so just pulling down at the same pace actually works very well for it. The compensator lights this gun up, takes it to another level, turns it into a laser beam. Would highly recommend running the compensator on this gun. Like, this is the one gun that I'm like, you definitely need to use compensator on. The rest are like, I prefer it, but this one's like, use the compensator or you're trolling, okay? PMM, best pistol in the game, definitely using that. And then C4, of course, on Kapkan. You could use the sausage. The sausage is actually not too bad now. If you are, I mean, you might as well throw the suppressor on, make it a meme loadout. Am I right? Tachanka's next up. Horrible operator, but if you're going to use him, use the LMG. This is the best part about his kit. On the fly rotates, on the fly hatch drops, on the fly just surprise play, popping a hole in the wall and then shooting them. You can run the 9x19 VSN. This is a loadout that if you just want to run around and shoot people, sure, you could do that, or you could just play Doc and do the exact same thing and then have heals on top of it. Bearing 9, of course, Hollow B, flash hider, barbed wire on Tachanka as well. With Jäger, I'm running the 416 carbine with the flash hider. Hollow A, I don't know, something about this is just like Hollow A speaks to me. That was the time when I played Jäger and the Hollow A was like the best sight. And it was just a beautiful time. It was a beautiful time. I'm reminiscing now, but let's get back to the point. P12, muzzle brake laser sight. Same old, same old. You can run the observation blockers if you have the time to set them up, if you have a plan for them. Bulletproof is probably just the way to go. You can EMP the drones, even sit in a spot covered by your Jägers, sit on the camera, EMP the drones, or act off of the information that you get from that camera. We have beautiful Bandit next in line with the MP7, of course. Flash hider, Hollow B, laser sight on that, laser sight muzzle brake on the pistol, and then C4. You can actually run the barbed wire on Bandit if you want. It's really very niche, and it's really only to stop drones. You find they're like overly droning and like clapping you with drones, maybe drop some barbed wire off the start of the prep phase, electrify it just on the doorways or common entrances that drones would come through, and then that way you'll get rid of some drones early on in the round. For Frost, I'm every single time running the 9mm over the Super 90, Sniper 90. Back in my day, that's what we called it. On the 9mm, running the extended barrel, actually, because there is literally no recoil on this gun. So the extended barrel, just get the extra damage, run away with it, very nice. And then I run the ITA shotgun, of course, to do sight setup, rotate. This shotgun's actually it's just lovely. It's just lovely. What can I say? I'm running the shield almost every time. I'm not dropping the frost mats behind or anything. I'm just using it as something to hide behind, use for cover, make lines of sight with the shotgun, hold the longer angles with that no recoil ACOG scope, and you're good to go. You can run the BP though, sight dependent and strategy dependent. Valkyrie's next up. I'm awful with Valkyrie, so I do not play her. I tend to ban her more often than not. But if I were to play her, I'd run the MPX with the Flash Hider and the Hollow B, vertical grip, of course, and then the Desert Eagle because there's no other options. Throw the laser sight on that, and then the C4. Of course, you can play underneath with the C4. C4 from below, very useful. Cav is up next, and on Cav, I never, ever, ever, ever run this dog shit gun. I honestly think the pistol is equally as good at range. This gun is so bad, so I run the Spaz. I don't use the laser sight though, because most of the time I'm hiding. However, when I'm hiding, I'm also hip firing. So when I'm using the Spaz and I'm flanking or whatever, or going for the kills, typically I'm hip firing them anyway. It's got a really good hip fire spread, so I'm not usually ADS with it anyway. And then you just get that extra movement speed while you're kind of peeking at them with the gun. I run the laser sight on the pistol. I do actually still use this on the pistol. Get that increased ADS speed when you're coming up behind them, ADS quickly, or if you have to get into a gunfight, you still have that ADS peak advantage. Impacts every single day of the week, so you can open up all the hatches with the shotgun, run around freely, and then you can impact to escape on the fly. Use the impacts on the fly, use the shotgun in the prep phase to open up hatches and open up new routes for you to use to flank during the round. Then we have Echo, who I use the MP5SD on. ACOG vertical grip, very good gun, plus it's already got that built-in suppressor. You can use the Supernova, very good shotgun. This is actually an operator that I would actually consider using the Supernova. I have used the Supernova, especially because you have that bearing 9 secondary. So honestly, Supernova bearing 9 combo, not bad. Don't use the suppressor. It'll stick you out around corners. It's not worth it. Just run it raw, run it short, run it raw, and use the impacts as well, because you can use the yokais to gather info and maybe potentially impact out of somewhere else to get aggressive off of that information. We got Mira next. I use the Vector on her with the Compensator yet again strikes back. This is another gun that I recommend the Compensator on because I just find it's the easiest to control. It gets rid of the side-to-side recoil, makes this thing a freaking laser. This gun is so good. Laser with the laser, vertical grip, hollow A on this one. And then, of course, I run the secondary shotgun for sight setup, which is useful in combination with the mirrors to do just a nice, secure, solid defense setup. I run the C4 on her every single day of the week. You can play off your mirror and then C4 plant. So if they're planting and haven't destroyed your mirror, you can C4 them. You can have a pre-play C4 underneath, look through your mirror, see when they walk over it, blow them up. Lots of options there with the C4. Very good operator. We got another very good operator, Legion, right afterwards with the T5 Hollow B Flash Hider vertical grip laser. Honestly, I've been practicing with this shotgun. It has gotten a lot better this season as well. Laser sight Hollow A on that if you do want to use it. If you're using the shotgun, use the pistol. If you're using the SMG, use the shotgun. You always want that shotgun in the lineup, but you also want the range of either the pistol or the SMG. So I run the Super Shorty. This is actually, I do have a sight on it. I'm going to take it off. I don't need that sight. And I'm going to run the BP on Legion as well. You can run the observation blockers. I actually like the observation blockers with the shotgun. It allows you to kind of work your way into positions without getting seen or less likely to be seen. So it's an option as well. With Ella, we have the FO12 shotgun, which I like to use with the extended barrel. Again, it is also better this season. So hey, if you want to run Ella, it's an option. It's always there on the table. If you do want to run the Scorpion Evo, which is again another good gun, I'm just personally not that great with it. I run the Compensator, gets rid of that side-to-side recoil, or reduces it at least to make it more manageable, and then I use the Hollow B. Great gun. I just for whatever reason suck with it. I don't play a lot of Ella, but if I do, I'm going to run the impacts. That way I can put Ella mines on one side of a wall, impact out when they hit the Ella mine. Their sound is distorted from the Ella mine. They probably won't even react to that impact, and you're shooting them in the side of the head for some easy kills. Vigil is next up. K1A or Bashi. Bashi is just so gross, lethal, and annoying. I actually ban Vigil a lot just because of people crutching this gun. Bad players are good with this gun, which means if you're good at the game, you can be even better with this gun. Or you could just run the K1A. Honestly, super, super solid as well. If you are going to run the K1A, I'd recommend the Flash Hider. I like both these guns quite a lot. So it's really not a big difference to me. You can be really lethal with either of them. And then, of course, the SMG-12, one of the best secondaries in the game right now. Vertical grip, hollow B on that one. Impacts all day long. Maestro is next on the roster, and I have a very specific Maestro loadout to counter Brava, because Brava is always the guy coming around hacking the cams and ruining your day. If you pick Maestro, they see that, they're definitely picking a Brava, more likely than not. So I put the Flash Hider, Hollow A. I do run the Alda. You can run the ACS-12 if you want. That's complete preference. It's not bad either. But if you aren't, run the Bailiff so that you can do site setups. And also just have the soft destruction, which is always good to have. When I am running my secondary, I have barbed wire on right now, but typically I'm running the observation blockers. I put them right down right in front of the bubble, so the Brava has to actually drive right up to the bubble in order to hack it. And if you're watching your cams in the prep phase, you can actually get rid of that Brava cam before it can get close enough to hack your cams, which will effectively destroy the Brava pick. Now, they could hack the observation blocker and then hack the BP, the Maestro bubble. And if they do that, just be aware, because if they're hacking that observation blocker, you can have your cam pre-open to shock the drone before it can get you. So that's a nice little trick if you want to play Maestro. On Alibi, I'm running the MX4 Storm. I have Reflex C on there right now. Again, totally preference. Flash Hider, vertical grip, laser sight. Bailiff, 410 Bailiff, very nice. You can set up prismas, open walls in front of them so they can't see the base. They think it might be a player, they shoot them. Put an observation blocker in front of them as well, and they can't even drone them out beforehand. Then what can you do? Replace the prisma with yourself after they shoot it. They think it's a prisma. They go tuck into cover after getting the pings. You replace the prisma with yourself. All of a sudden they peek, and now you are the prisma and you're killing them. It's epic. So strat worth running, strat worth doing. With Clash, I'm running the SPSM G9, the submachine gun, obviously, Flash Hider. You can run the shorty, but then you lose all your dominant range. I think the machine pistol is just the way to go. And then the impacts for playmaking if you need to. Great shield counter, naturally. For Old Man Cade, what are we using? You could use the AUG. Great submachine gun. Flash Hider, Hollow B, vertical grip if you are. TCSG, also a great option. Even the suppressor, you're typically not hiding with this gun, so the extra long barrel doesn't actually hurt you too much. You're taking longer range fights with this typically. Great shotgun if you're good with it. Definitely recommend. You can use this cowboy pistol. Again, I'm horrible at it, like I mentioned with Nomad. So I run the revolver, and the other thing about the revolver is you can make holes, lines of sight if you are using that AUG. So this is just a nice pairing, and then the C4, of course, on top of it all. Excellent operator. I don't play Mozzie too much. I'm not very good with the Roni. I have Flash Hider on there. I just not enough bullets for me, dude. Not enough bullets. With the Commando, I run the Compensator on this one. I believe I had Flash or Muzzle on Sentry, but this is the one I would go with. I would go with the Compensator. My Mozzie loadout feels a little bit more comfortable with the Commando, so that's what I would recommend. And then C4 every day of the week. I don't think it's really worth running the impacts or barbed wire over the C4. Warden is next. Honestly, still a great operator. I tend to run the shotgun more than anything. Again, this is my favorite shotgun in the game. It's so, so good. And then you have the SMG-12 if you do need it. I kind of like it with the red dot B. I put this on once and haven't changed it yet, and I'm having a great time. So don't hate on the red dot B. MPX, again, if you're running that, run the Flash Hider. And then I run the C4 every time. I'm still running the C4, guys. Goyo is next. Same as Mira here. We're going to be using the Compensator on Goyo to reduce that side-to-side recoil. ACOG Compensator is just so lethal on this gun. There was a long period of time where I used Suppressor on this gun, thinking it had better recoil with Suppressor. Honestly, would recommend trying it out. It feels great with the Suppressor too. But I did switch to Compensator at some point, and now this is what I use, and I find it is a little bit better. It is a little bit better in terms of recoil, but that's a barrel that you can switch up and just kind of feel out whatever one you like the best on Goyo, I would say. Impacts all day. Impacts all day. Let's throw the laser sight on the pistol as well. Then we have Wamai. Whammo. I actually don't really play with my. I hate both of his guns, and I'm kind of bad with them, so I don't use them. If I were to, I'd run the AUG with the flash hider. It does more damage than the MP5, and they kind of feel the same in terms of how fast they shoot. Keratos to make lines of sight, and then the impacts for rotates or on the fly playmaking, shield counter, whatever you need them for. Oryx is next. T5 again, flash hider. Reflex B on the T5. I don't know. Just it seems right. It seems right on this gun. That's the sight I use. Any one times will work. And then the bailiff. I don't actually use the Oryx ability to make rotates. I use the bailiff. Why? Because I don't want to take the damage for no reason. So if we have a Thunderbird, yeah, I'll take the damage. Other than that, though, I won't. I run barbed wire, info, and slows them down. Just a superior secondary gadget, in my opinion. Melusi is next. I run the MP5 on Melusi over the Super 90, sorry. Reflex A on this one. I don't know, something about this gun, it just feels weird to me without the ACOG, the MP5. I do run flash hider on it still, but I run Reflex A just to kind of change up what the sight looks like, because I find with the Hollow A or the Hollow B even, I tend to aim down too much. Honestly, I might have to switch the grip up. I might try this out with the horizontal grip or the angle grip and see how it goes. Something about that one-time sight really throws me off. So I don't know about this one too much. I'm going to experiment with it a little more, but that if you do want to copy what I use, that's what I use. And then I use the ITA, of course, rotates, lines of sight, all that good stuff that the shotgun brings, and then the impacts as well. For a Rooney, you could run the Roni. I do not. Honestly, the iron sight horizontal grip Roni, it's kind of gas. I used it once or twice and it was kind of gas. We did that in my Forbidden Loadouts video if you want to watch that, where I ran Forbidden Loadouts, and it honestly was really sick. I think I got a 4K or an ace. It was kind of nuts, but I don't do that anymore. I use the DMR with the horizontal grip for that extra speed, since she has that thick boy 1 speed 3 armor, and then the muzzle brake, magnifying B, and laser sight on that as well. I'm running barbed wire pretty much every day of the week on a Rooney. You can run the BP, but most of the time I'm using the barbed wire. Thunderbird is next. The spear, again, is kind of garbage, like I mentioned with Finka, so I actually don't use it on even Thunderbird. I like the shotgun more so than the spear. I'm going to put the laser sight on for that increased ADS speed, but most of the time I find I'm just hip firing with this thing anyway. And then the Bearing 9, it's so good. It's so good. Like, this is just a lethal combo. You can do it all with these two guns. It's kind of nice. And then I run the barbed wire too. And then we have Thorn, another garbage operator that I tend not to touch, but the UZK is a really good weapon, especially with flash hider, hollow B, vertical grip, laser sight. Vertical grip, laser sight goes for almost every single gun. So when in doubt, this is the loadout you go with. Flash hider, hollow B, vertical grip, laser sight. And then with the C75, you could put the suppressor on it. I just run the laser sight and then the barbed wire. You know, Thorn, you just run around, shoot people with this gun. That's the main thing. So other than that, you can kind of do whatever you want. If you're playing Thorn, you're kind of trolling, I think, anyway, in my opinion. Azami is next up. Extremely good operator. Both guns suitable depending on what you're doing, what strategy and what sight you're playing. Most of the time, I'm using the submachine gun with, again, that compensator, one that I highly recommend using compensator on. This is the one gun where compensator is #1 on it, in my opinion. And then the impacts most of the time over the barbed wire, just to make those plays, counter shields, etc. If you are running the ACS-12 vertical grip, ACOG, laser sight, very nice, very, very nice. Such a good operator, man. I cannot talk about this operator any more highly. Solus is next. Don't really play her anymore. The shotgun actually might be good now with the shotgun buff, so you could run the shotgun SMG combo, especially since the SMG 11 is so good. Muzzle brake on that. If you are in the P90, flash hider, hollow B, or whatever one-time sight you like. I'm going to try this out with the shotgun. I haven't played a lot of Solus since her nerf. She's just kind of bad now, so I don't really play her. I run the beepers if I do, so that way I can set up underneath the site to stop plants, and then have the beepers for the info around if they are trying to clear me out or push me. Fenrir is so nasty. I have the muzzle brake on Fenrir's MP7, but then I believe on Bandit I had the flash hider. Yes, I had flash hider on Bandit. I'm gonna switch that because Fenrir is the operator that I actually use the most with the MP7. And I find I'm actually the most consistent with Fenrir with the MP7. So yes, run the muzzle brake on the MP7 with the laser sight. You can use flash hider though. I mean, it's really not that big of a deal. I know I had even extended barrel on the MP7 for a long period of time. So whatever you prefer in this circumstance, with the bailiff as well, rotates, soft breach, very nice. And then I run the BP just because it takes so long to set up the mines already. Setting up the observation tools on top of it, it's a lot of work. Plus, these are kind of like even in how strong they are, even with the BP coming out on top a little bit at times. Big boy Tubby is next to Barao. I am running the DMR every single time I play this guy. This DMR is, I think, the best in the game. The AR-15, it is so nasty. It shoots so fast. It does so much damage. And if you run the vertical grip and the muzzle brake, it literally does not move. It literally just... Everyone is dying to this thing. Plus, you can glaze them with the glazed waffle skin. What is better than being glazed on? Nothing. I would lose every day of the week if I'm getting glazed by Tubero. Pistol, C4, that's Rap's best. So good. So good. Such a good operator. You can run the MPX. To be fair, you can run the MPX if you are not great with DMRs, or if you're on console, the DMRs are a little harder. But this thing is like basically the Boschi at the same time with 15 bullets because it hits so hard. Scopos is next, and I believe she is the last operator that we have. She sure is. On Scopos, there's not a lot of options. I run the impacts over the proximities for that playmaking potential, and on the PCX-33, I'm running the extended barrel because it is such a laser that you just get extra damage. It already does so much damage, then you put the extended barrel on, it does more damage, plus it just doesn't move when you shoot. This gun is honestly one of the best defender weapons in the game, and Scopus is honestly a little bit underrated. You could play her more and be okay. Red dot C on that one, just for a nice clear picture of what you're shooting at, and then vertical grip laser sight. And that is all, folks. That is every operator, the loadout I use. Feel free to come back to this video and check out the ops as you're playing them because they are pretty short per operator. Hope you learned something, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out.